Hi, everybody. I'm here with Krista Brenner, and we're going to be talking about an aspect of recruiter enablement that we haven't covered before, but I'll come on to that in a minute. Krista, thank you very much for joining me today, and give us a quick introduction to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Krista Brenner. I have been in recruitment for about 16 years now. I jokingly call myself the grandma recruiter now. I feel like I've been around for a long time. I've worked in healthcare, I've worked in education and in life sciences, so with pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies as well, and currently supporting healthcare across Canada, where I live. I also am the founder and creator of a community of recruiters called the Recruiter Realm, which I know we're going to talk about today, but that is who I am, and I'm excited to be here.
I mean, if you're the grandma of recruiter, I'm the great granddad of recruiting. And there's people that
No.
have been in it for 20, 30 years more than I have as well. So they're like the Yoda of recruiting.
We need some
Anyway,
Yodas of recruitment.
tell us the background on the LinkedIn community. Why did you create this?
I reached my own very bad burnout a couple of years ago, and it's something I'm very transparent about, and I talk about it quite openly because I don't think we talk about it enough. As recruiters, we are people. We give everything to our candidates. We funnel so much into all of our job requisitions. We support our hiring managers. There's pressure from senior management. So we get the pressures from all sides. When I was in recruiting, I was the only, in 2020, I was the only recruiter embedded in a human resources team. Therefore, no one else was doing what I was doing. So I felt that those pressures were just part of the job. It's just how it was. That anxiety I was feeling, that burnout, that isolation, the never being able to keep up, everything I felt was just normal. And then when I hit my own bad burnout, I was hospitalized twice over a 2-month period for about 17 days. I was very, very sick. They could not figure out what was wrong with me. And it was about 8.5, probably closer to 9 months that I was extremely unwell. I was very, very sick. Once I made the changes that I needed to with my burnout and my isolation and my work life boundaries, everything started to go away. So I know in my heart of hearts, even though there has not been a diagnosis, I know that it was my body responding to the stress. I know that there is no other explanation for it. And now I am very in tune to that. So my boundaries are very firmly in place, and I will not go back to that person that I was before. Now I can see those signs in other people, and I work with them so that they don't reach that same burnout and isolation. Why I created the Recruiter Realm community is based on that. If I was feeling that way, there's no way there wasn't another recruiter who wasn't feeling the same way. It's impossible. So I started with just a few friends that I had met in the comment section of LinkedIn, the powerful community that it is. And I said, hey, do you want to have lunch on Friday over Zoom and just talk about this ridiculous world of recruitment that we all love so much? And what started with 10 people has now grown into 140 plus members across the world from every industry, every country that there is. We come together for lunch once a week on Fridays to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We support each other with crowdsourcing information, bringing ideas together, mental health support. I had a really bad week and I need to talk to someone about it, because if no one else understands it, recruiters will. Recruiters will get what you're going through. And Adam, you see the same stuff on LinkedIn that I do, right? We're always the enemy. We're always bad. Somehow magically we're the decision makers. We have all the power, even though we don't. But we bear the brunt of a lot of negativity, and it gets to be a lot if you don't have anyone to talk to. So that's my long answer to why I created the Recruiter Realm community, based on my own very bad experience. But I've built upon that bad into something that's really powerful and amazing.
Okay, there's a lot of things to respond to on that. So this is an interview with you, not me, but I can't resist the opportunity to say a few things. First of all, we do work in a stressful um, profession, and one of the reasons it's stressful is probably the reason that most of us are attracted to it, and that's because it gives us the ability to talk to lots of people and meet lots of new people. And most recruiters are quite gregarious, and they're people, right? So the problem is that on both sides of the supply chain that we're working on, there are people, and people are hard to manage.
Yeah.
And people have got their own brains, which is the good bit and the bad bit of recruitment, because what they do with their own brains is they don't call you back, or they change something at the last minute, or they tell you yes without any explanation, or they tell you no without any explanation. And so we've got to be nimble, and we've got to tap dance all day. That is stressful. I mean,
It
it
is.
is. It is. So it's often it's a double-edged sword. It's the good thing and the bad thing of recruitment. So I totally understand that, and I think that we I think that there are many people in our profession who will have periods where they definitely experience burnout, and they experience mental health challenges as a result of the type of profession that we're in. So,
Absolutely.
the service that you're putting into it by creating this community and arranging and hosting like a weekly meetup is a really important thing. The other thing I want to respond on is we have, especially post-COVID, mental health in general is something that we all need to talk about a lot more.
Absolutely.
And I am a massive advocate for and supporter of people who talk about these things publicly. And my sort of analogy is, I really hope that a day comes when mental health related things are treated in the same way as a a physical issue, such as I said to you previously, like we should think about something like depression or anxiety or those types of things, like is the equivalent of I've broken my ankle, or I have done something physical which is going to need some time to recuperate. But unfortunately, we certainly, when I first started in recruiting, like that would have been a sign of weakness. That would have been a sign of and people would not take you seriously as a result. So, you know, that makes it worse. I mean, that really makes it worse.
It does.
I mean, I've spent in the last couple of years, I've talked about various different things that I've had. I've had issues around abandonment and around low self-esteem and overuse of alcohol for medication. And I'm quite open about it, but I certainly wouldn't have been 20 years ago, and I almost certainly wouldn't have been even 5 years ago. So things are changing, which is great. Now, what I'd like to come on to is, like, other than, of course, joining your community, being part of this, and what are the kind of main tips that you've got for people? What should people be looking out for in terms of burnout? Like, what are the signals that somebody might be heading towards that? And then, like, what are the things that they really should be doing if they think that that's what they've got?
The biggest signal for me was overworking. And there is a content creator who is now a very dear friend of mine. I don't know if you follow him, but Jamal Marshall will always talk about how overworking is a socially accepted addiction. And when I read those words, it blew my mind away, because it is. We accept that as a socially acceptable thing. And I am the worst overworker, and I will proudly say I'm a recovering workaholic, and I have to be strict with myself. I have to make sure that I turn my computer off, because I love what I do. I actually truly love what I do, and I know not a lot of people are lucky enough to have that in their jobs, but I truly love what I do. But that means that I will keep going and going and going and going, right? In the peak of the COVID pandemic, here in Canada, especially in Ontario, we had the longest lockdowns out of anyone in the world. And I was working at a hospital as the only recruiter, and I probably worked about 21 hours a day, because there was just not enough to keep going. The building was actually on fire in that situation, right? There wasn't enough healthcare workers that we could get into it. But it was very hard for me to get out of that state of mind. That became my normal working. That became how I showed my worth. That became how I showed that I was the best recruiter. You should hire me. I'm the best one for your team. And that is the wrong way to go about our jobs. The building is not on fire. It's not an emergency. The world is not going to end if we don't get the offer letter out. But those are the negative self-talk things that we get, or maybe we get them directly from managers who allow us to get to that point. So for me, overworking is the biggest sign, the doing too much, the putting in too much effort. Yes, we all have the same amount of hours in the day, but it can spiral so quickly.
I 100%. I mean, I did that for years and years and years, and um, it's only been, I'm 47, and it's only really been the last 2 years where I've stopped doing that, and I've set some rules.
Mhm.
And my rules are I'm not working after 7 p.m. And I used to work till 10, 11, midnight
Yeah.
all the time. Another rule is I am almost never traveling for work now, and I've got one work trip planned this year. That's it. Pre-COVID, I was doing 100 flights a year,
Wow.
and I did that for over 10 years.
Oh my
I did that
gosh.
for 2009 till COVID. So 2009 till 2020, 11 years. I did 100 flights a year. And I don't know, looking back, if I was burnt out, but I certainly, that overwork thing was definitely one of the symptoms.
It's very easy to get into that habit. So that's my biggest, when I see people doing it, or when I see emails coming through too late, or I see them doing too much, I come at it from a very mama bear approach, right? And I'll say, do you think you're doing too much? Why were you online? Did you have a deadline? No, I didn't have a deadline, but I really wanted to get it done. Well, you're never going to get it done, right? There's always another resume to review or another job to work on. There's always going to be something. So setting those hard and fast boundaries to me has been the biggest life change. I will not work at night, and I will not work on the weekend unless it's a project that I want to plug away at, when I can be creative and I can just sit with my 5-year-old son and watch a movie and play around with creating a presentation, right? To me, that's my choice. But for actual work, I will not do it. And you will notice I will disappear from LinkedIn in a heartbeat, right? I will post daily advice for job seekers and recruiters and hiring managers, because I love the power of words and how we can help each other and be that supportive community. But when I start to feel that sense of overworking, poof, I will be gone. You won't see me, I will disappear. But I know not a lot of people have reached that point. So that's the point of the recruiter realm, is showing them that I hit the worst of the worst that you could be in a recruiter's life. And here's how I'm building upon it. And every time a new member joins, I get feedback of, wow, I thought I was the only one going through this. Oh my gosh, I didn't know anyone else was feeling this way. Wow, I feel like I'm really being heard. And I think that's the most important thing. To your point earlier, it shouldn't be a stigma. It shouldn't be any different than a broken ankle. I am suffering, I'm hurting, I need help. How can you help me? It's no different to me. And we have to be there for each other.
Just as you were talking there, one other thing occurred to me is I don't really work on holiday anymore either. And I used to work on holiday all the time. I mean, my team in 2 businesses ago used to joke that they'd hear more from me when I was on holiday than when I was in the office.
Good for you.
Um, yeah, that's not a, I don't do that anymore. I absolutely
Good.
don't. So, it's interesting because when you think about burnout, I mean, the first thing I would have thought would be you're feeling like you can't do anything because of that, but you're saying it's actually the opposite. People just like end up doing too much.
Mhm.
Are there other symptoms that people should look out for?
I think the losing the joy in your job is a big one for me too. If you, again, not everyone is lucky enough to love their job, but if you dread what you're doing, you no longer have the motivation in the morning, maybe you're not getting up and putting on makeup in the morning, you're just dreading getting through the steps of it. To me, that's another big sign to look for. And isolating yourself. So if you were once very talkative and outgoing with your LinkedIn community, with your family, with your friends, and you feel that going away because all you can think about is work and getting the next 500 things done, to me, that's another warning sign, because our jobs are a big part of our lives, right? We spend 40, I'll put that in quotations because it should be 40. We spend 40 hours a week at work, but we still have a whole other life outside of it, right? I have something outside of these computer screens that are surrounding me. I have more outside of all the resumes I need to get through today. I have a 5-year-old son who I adore, who I want to live my life with and get outside and do things with. So if we let work become our everything and everything else goes down, that's a big warning sign that the scales are tipping in a really negative way, and it's very hard to claw your way out of it. It was not a quick recovery for me, being a recovering workaholic. It was not a quick recovery from incredibly severe health issues from the stress that my body went through. But now I know, and I won't go back to it. I can feel it coming. I can feel those warning signs. So being really in tune with yourself and honest with yourself. there's so much that we pour of ourselves into our candidates and our hiring managers and our organizations. That's what we do as recruiters. We funnel everything we've got into other people. But there is that saying for a reason: you cannot fill from an empty cup. And if your cup is empty, it's going to stay empty and you're going to suffer. And I've lost people to depression and mental health issues. I've lost people to addiction, and it's tragic and it's sad and it should never happen. So if you and I can use our voices to surround people and enable recruiters to empower themselves to say, I'm hurting and I need help, then we all have a responsibility in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And absolutely, I have lost people to these things. So, like, what are the top 3 things people need to do first?
I think what they need to do first is to really look at their workload, right? What are you doing? Are you doing more than you should be? I got myself into a trap where I was doing all the recruiting stuff, but I was also doing all the marketing, all the employer branding, all the, right? We wear many hats as recruiters, but realistically, if it's not part of our scope and our skill set, then those are the areas that we need to cut back on. So really look at, is this my job? Is this not my job? The other thing is, what are your boundaries? What are your non-negotiables? What will you not flex on? To me, I won't flex on my night times and my weekends. Those are mine. Unless there's an emergency, right? My team knows how to get a hold of me if there's a true emergency. But look at what your non-negotiables are and what you're not going to give up on. And then 3, what are you doing to surround yourself with community? Are you doing it alone? Because you don't need to. Are you a recruiter of one? There's tons of organizations out there where they say I'm the only recruiter, right? It's real life. I've been there. It exists. But there's so many people out there, and the power of LinkedIn, what I have found and what I've truly found joy in, is that there's so many people out there that are going to be just like you. So who are you surrounding yourself with that are going to keep you accountable? Are they going to call you out on it? Are they going to message you and say, Adam, I noticed that you haven't been online in 3.5 months. Want to make sure everything is okay. Are you all right? You have to find those people in your community, and they may not be in your organization. They may not be real life. They might only be a LinkedIn connection, but I have found so many people that have truly changed my life over the last couple of years. And that's made all the difference for me because they hold me accountable. So those are the 3 things I would suggest everyone do.
Wonderful. Okay. I said to you half an hour ago, it'll be about 10 minutes we'll talk, and we've been talking for quite a lot more than that.
I always have more to say than people expect. I'm sorry.
No. It's been wonderful. Honestly, this has been one of the 150 plus interviews that I've done with people. This has been one of my favorite because it's a subject that I am also passionate about, and I've really enjoyed listening to your experiences and your tips for people. So, Krista, many thanks for joining me today. People should follow you on LinkedIn. Is that where they'll find you?
That's where they'll find me. Yep.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks again. See you soon.
Thank you.